The Housing, Finance, and Policy Committee will come to order. The clerk will take the roll.
Hausman.
Present.
Howard.
Present.
Tice.
Present.
McBadgett.
Present.
Bliss.
Present.
Gomez.
Present.
Hassan. Heinrich.
Present.
Herr.
Present.
Jurgens.
Present.
Olson.
Present.
Farr.
Present.
And Ryer.
Present.
All right, Madam Chair, we do have a quorum.
Thank you. Next order of business is the approval of the minutes from Thursday, January 28. Representative Howard, have you had a chance to review the minutes?
I have reviewed the minutes and I will move them.
Representative Howard moves approval of the minutes. Members, if are there any comments? If not, please unmute yourselves for a voice vote. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion prevails and the minutes are approved. The next item of business is a presentation from the Minnesota Housing on the governor's budget recommendations for Minnesota housing. Members, we at the end of February will have another forecast, and so these numbers may be revised at that particular point, but for the moment, this is the budget he's presenting to us. We will take questions once the presentation is concluded. We have Commissioner Ho and Ryan Baumtrag here. Commissioner Ho, welcome to the committee, and please identify yourself for the record.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, my name is Jennifer Ho, and I have the pleasure of serving as the Commissioner of Minnesota Housing. Last Tuesday, when I was with you, I had the opportunity to just briefly preview, right after the governor had released the budget, that we are very excited about the starting point in his proposal. It certainly signals the need to create more housing as well as kind of stabilizing housing for folks. I look forward to walking through it for you. Ryan, next slide, please. Just to contextualize, how we're thinking about this, I think the most important thing is just to really sympathize with all of the Minnesotans, both homeowners and renters who are struggling right now to make rent or to make a mortgage payment due to the pandemic, either the disease itself, as well as the economic fallout. So we were in a situation prior to the pandemic where the housing needs of Minnesotans, especially low-income Minnesotans, were acute, and the pandemic has really only made that more severe. We do have more federal rental assistance coming online soon through COVID-19 emergency rental assistance, a very large appropriation to the state, but also the federal program is defined as being for renters only, and it doesn't include homeowners and mortgage assistance in the new program. And so, we're waiting to see if Congress will pass a third stimulus and if it will make up for that gap or not, but it's certainly something that we're paying very close attention to. As we are working hard to bring the new COVID-19 emergency rental assistance up, we're aware that getting the sequencing of getting that program up and running and highly available to the winding down of the governor's executive order suspending evictions is going to be really important in order to prevent mass evictions at the end of the state of emergency due to non-payment of rent, which is the number one reason for evictions by far in the state. So getting the timing of these things sequenced right so that we don't have just a wave of evictions is important. And then, as we were discussing well before we all became amateur epidemiologists, we have this need to increase the supply of housing in the state, both rental as well as homeownership opportunities in every corner of the state for people at all income levels, but in particular, our focus in state government is to create housing where the private market doesn't reach without having some incentives. So for folks with low and moderate incomes. And because we had this shortage of housing going back to the Great Recession and the housing crisis of 2008 and 2009, we just need to year upon year upon year direct more resources to housing in order to catch up. Something that I like to call, we need to go big. Next slide, please, Ryan. So this is the overall snapshot, a $14 million increase in one-time general fund dollars, covering kind of 5 areas of focus and 15 line items. I'm going to go through each of the increases separately in the following slides, but also just, it's with gratitude and humility that we're seeing an increase during a period of time where we know that many state programs, the old line flat is the new up, or actual decreases in programs. So it's definitely with joy and humility. So first I want to talk about the programs that we have that are really about increasing housing stability. And this is really where we focus on a lot of our tools that are aimed around people experiencing homelessness or people who are at risk of homelessness. So let's start with Homework Starts with Home. Proposing a biennial increase of $1 million or $500,000 a year, which would bring the biennial budget up to $4.5 million for this biennium. Homework Starts with Home is targeted towards homeless or highly mobile students and their families, and it provides that kind of rent and housing assistance in order to help kids, because kids who are stably housed can, it's so hard to even talk about kind of how we go to school right now. So I understand that there's some things that are unique about the pandemic and whether folks are distance learning and in school, but as kids have the opportunity to go back to school, having that stable home is the way to make sure that folks have school stability is so important. The $500,000 a year increase would add about 165 additional families into the program. Just for context, the school districts track more than 9,000 children in a school year who are homeless or highly mobile. That's 1,350 schools, 307 school districts across the state in 78 of Minnesota's 87 counties. And that's from data collected over at the Department of Education. And just research has demonstrated how effective this program really is. Next slide. Our Family Homeless Prevention and Assistance Program, we're proposing a $4 million biennial increase, $2 million a year, to bring the biennial amount to just over $24.5 million. This is a program that was piloted all the way back to 1993, really designed to either prevent homelessness before it occurs or help people very quickly get back into housing so that they don't end up kind of trapped in the cycle of homelessness. We get a lot more in demand than we've been able to fund in the past. We have about 20 grantees across the state that manage this. Just to contextualize this, I think that the COVID-19 Housing Assistance Program, which we ran with Coronavirus Relief Fund dollars between the end of August and the beginning of December, we're still processing those claims. It was $100 million that we put to use over 4 months. And it was fully subscribed. So really understanding that $24 million for the biennium, kind of during a period of time like this, but for the now new federal emergency rental assistance, this would have been the go-to program. And it would have just completely strained beneath the size of the demand right now. Next, the Bridges Rental Assistance Program, another key program for providing rental assistance for households with an adult with a serious mental illness. A very targeted program by adding $1 million to the biennium or $500,000 a year, raise the program's biennial budget to over $9 million a year, allowing us to serve an additional 70 households. And I think it's really striking that the median income of a household on bridges is just over $9,600. So it's really targets folks with extremely low incomes and who have a serious mental illness. So this is something that we've done in conjunction with our friends over at the Department of Human Services. It's something that has been a partnership with folks who have been waitlisted for the public housing Section 8 voucher program. Also, something that I haven't really talked about here in committee before is that I chair the Olmstead subcabinet for the administration. Olmstead was the Supreme Court decision going back to 1999 that guaranteed the rights of individuals with disabilities to live and work in fully integrated settings. This Bridges Rental Assistance Program, along with some federal Section 811 housing dollars, have really been a way that we can, in a targeted way, fulfill the demands. Again, the need is much higher than this increase reflects. I think I can say that across the board for all of these increases. It still doesn't meet the need. Construction, we need more housing. We need a lot more housing at all income levels and in all parts of the state. And the number one state appropriated program that has given us the most flexibility to do this has been the Economic Development and Housing Challenge Program. We're proposing a $4 million investment, bringing this biennial budget to $29.5 million. What's so great about the Challenge Program is that it allows us to do both multifamily rental, single family home ownership, new construction, redevelopment. It leverages a ton of federal, private, and local government money. This $4 million increase, we believe, would create somewhere between 60 and 100 new homes. It provides some focus on communities that have rapid job growth, places where workers have long commutes. We still have a very low rental vacancy rate, and we also have a very low supply of homes for sale compared to a healthy market. There's been a lot in the media in the last few weeks about that. So really excited to have this proposed increase for the Challenge Program. And this is something where the money is included in the agency's consolidated annual request for proposals. And so we're able to look across new development and redevelopment, single family and multifamily, and figure out how to plug and play these dollars to fill critical gaps and allow us to say yes to more programs, more developers. And then the Workforce and Affordable Home Ownership Program. This is a proposed $1.5 million biennial increase that would bring the program up to $2 million for the biennium. This is really focused on creating new home ownership opportunities. This funding increase would create 40 to 50 new. And again, as I said, we just need more homes, especially homes that are for sale on the lower end of purchase price. And this is also how we continue to address the huge gap in home ownership rates between white households in Minnesota and Black, Indigenous, and other households of color in Minnesota. You may recall that we have the fourth worst gap in the country. And then finally, supporting and strengthening homeownership more broadly. We are proposing, for the first time in a while, an increase to our down payment and closing cost assistance program. $1.5 million increase, bringing that biennial budget to $3.27 million. Down payment and closing cost assistance is the best way to help households, including Black, Indigenous, and other households of color, who have enough income to be homeowners, but they just don't have that little bundle of money that you need to get in, right? The down payment and the closing costs, the price of entry into homeownership. So this would expand our ability to add additional 175 families into first-time home ownership. You all know this as well as I, that home ownership is the #1 way that we accumulate wealth in America. And because we've had a shortage of homes, we've seen the price of a new home or any home continue to go up year after year, a supply-demand issue, making home ownership further out of reach without this type of assistance. And then the Homeownership Education, Counseling, and Training Program. This is a proposed increase of $500,000 for the biennium, bringing it up to $2.2 million for the biennium. This is where we work with a network of partners that do both pre-purchase homebuyer counseling and also, very important right now, foreclosure prevention and counseling. One of the things that we observed, and I think Julie Guggen has probably talked about it here, is with the COVID-19 Housing Assistance Program. We asked homeowners who were eligible for forbearance on their mortgage to seek that. But that requires quite a bit of just explaining and helping folks understand who knows who their mortgage servicer is off the top of their head, who knows who backs their mortgage, trying to figure that out and figuring out then whether it's one of the federal programs that made folks eligible for forbearance. This is something that President Biden has extended in his first days of office in terms of being eligible for forbearance, but at some point in time, that also is those protections are going to end. And as I mentioned earlier, the new federal stimulus money is targeted at renters, not homeowners. So we're also watching that federal conversation closely as well. And then finally, our overall objective of just preserving the homes we have, which is just so important that we not lose homes either to complete deterioration or because they get converted to, they get rehabbed and priced out. So we're pleased to propose $1 million increase to the manufactured home park infrastructure program. We did successfully run our first RFP on that last year, and we're able to get a sense of demand. This is something that I have done a lot of work to educate myself and the agency on in my first 2 years as commissioner. And certainly as I've been traveling, as you head out of the cities and as you travel through any community in greater Minnesota, you usually encounter a manufactured home community on your way in or your way out of town. And if you stop and really take a look at the state of the roads inside of the community, that oftentimes gives you a sense of the infrastructure needs that combined with utilities. But I've visited manufactured home communities where the school bus would no longer drive into the community to pick up the kids because of the state of the roads, where the garbage haulers would no longer drive into the community to pick up the trash because of the state of the roads, which is something that is also then compounded when you have hard rains or spring thaws, or I guess as we're coming to experience January thaws, that really is taking a toll on the infrastructure of these communities. And, we don't create new manufactured home communities in Minnesota much, if at all, anymore. And a lot of these communities were built in the 50s and the 60s. So the deteriorating infrastructure is one of age. So just, I highlighted the programs where we're specifically adding new funding. I wanted to just make sure that I took a moment to show you base funding on our other programs, as well as a transfer that we're proposing between our rental rehab program over to our Greater Minnesota Workforce Development Program. These are both programs that target Greater Minnesota. They're both programs for which there is great need. By doing the transfer, we kind of balance out the rehab versus the new development sides of the budget at a time when production is so important. It also has an expanded use for tribes. one of the things that's interesting about the Greater Minnesota Workforce Development Program is some smaller communities around the state come into this competition because the competitive range is already limited to the Greater Minnesota communities, as opposed to competing in our consolidated RFP, where it's the whole state and a lot more folks coming in. So we see some developers that are really focused on this work come into the Greater Minnesota Workforce Development Program. I know this isn't the purview of this committee, but I do want to just take a moment on the capital budget recommendation. As I previewed last Tuesday, the governor's proposal includes $100 million in additional authorization for our housing infrastructure bonds. These housing infrastructure bonds are a Minnesota fantastic invention created here. Other states do not have these housing infrastructure bonds, although many are working to mirror this model. Yeah, I think importantly, it's so much housing is private owned. So using general obligation bonds where it has to have public ownership just didn't make sense for housing. Housing infrastructure bonds have become the largest source of capital. It allows me to say no to just two out of 3 proposals that come across our threshold, as opposed to saying no to 3 out of 4. The $100 million that we got in October, we were still able to match to projects when we made our announcements in December. So they also have specific uses, the importance of preserving federally assisted housing. The federal government does not do enough to preserve housing that it created decades ago that needs reinvestment. It helps us build and preserve supportive housing. It's funny to talk about preserving supportive housing, but some of the early supportive housing that was built now long ago, that it needs some preservation efforts. It helps us build affordable senior housing. That was a new use in 2018. It also allows us to invest in manufactured home community infrastructure, also new in 2018. And then last October, a new use around homeownership development was added. The administration is proposing a new use for new construction targeted at 50% of area median income or below. So again, really trying to use this for housing that's affordable to folks who make the least. And again, we put these out through our annual consolidated request for proposals. I was just going to touch base quickly, but I can pause on the money before I move to policy if you'd like, Chair Houseman. I do feel like I just kind of...
Mr. Worth, do we have questions at this point?
Madam Chair, there are no questions in the queue at this time.
I think you could proceed to policy then.
Thank you, Chair Houseman. I just wanted to touch base briefly on 3 important areas of policy that we'd like to be in dialogue with you, maybe at a future committee meeting. They're really around trying to create renter stability in the pandemic. As we have worked hard to prevent evictions and paid attention to what eviction law looks like in other states. There are 3 areas that we're proposing that the committee consider. One is eliminate source of income discrimination. If you can pay your rent, regardless of whether you're paying it because you have, for example, a housing choice voucher from the Public Housing Agency, that should not impact whether or not a landlord says yes or no to you. So preventing source of income discrimination so that people with public assistance aren't treated differently because that public assistance allows them to pay the rent. Looking at a 14-day notice before a landlord can file an eviction. Today, we have one of the fastest eviction timelines in the country, which means your ability to seek and get assistance between the time that you've been told you're going to be evicted and the eviction is filed is very difficult to accomplish. And especially as we think about the end of the evictions executive order and the end of the pandemic, really trying to figure out how to give people an opportunity to get assistance or find a different housing situation before they're in court. And then the third area is around evictions, both when does it hit your record and how do you get it off? Again, this is a place where Minnesota just has a state law that really works against renters, so that the eviction today is on your record from the moment that it's filed, even when the tenant prevails in court. So this would keep the eviction filing private until there's a judgment, and it would remove the eviction from your record if the court finds in the tenant's favor. So we think this is just an important piece of thinking about what we've begun to call the off-ramp of the evictions executive order. So with that, thank you so much for making time for me to walk through kind of the specifics of the governor's proposals. And again, I have Assistant Commissioner Ryan Baumtrog sitting right behind me and ready to come to the table. Happy to take any of your questions.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Ho. Mr. Worth, do we have questions?
Yes, Madam Chair, Representative Hassan is on the list.
Representative Hassan?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner, for this information. I just have a question and a comment. The comment is on the policy. I am very excited and glad to see the eviction, being a focus of the governor's plan. The two of the out of the three eviction policies, policies on housing that you just mentioned are two that I've been working on. So I am extremely happy about that. And I thank you and the governor's staff for that. I'm gonna go back to home ownership. One of the things that we keep hearing about, the barrier on home ownership is that there is not enough homes to buy. There are a lot of agencies that are doing many great work of preparing, families who are interested in home ownership, doing the home ownership education, getting their credit ready, everything else ready. But the problem comes back to there's not enough homes to purchase. So can you, and I may have missed this and you may have said something about it, is there a plan to build new homes, new construction for home ownership? Commissioner.
Madam Chair and Representative Hassan, first of all, thank you for your enthusiasm on the policy bills. The House 2 years ago did pass some evictions language. As Chair Houseman can attest, we had a hard time getting traction on that language with the Senate. So just we're glad to carry the water on that, and hope that in this current pandemic environment that we can get the traction that we need. And then on the creation of more homes, both the shift into the Greater Minnesota workforce development, that creates more housing. The Challenge program creates more housing. Ryan, why don't you take us back to the slide that just has the top line of everything on it? I think slide 3. So this shows you the three, thank you, Ryan. This shows you the 3 line items under Build More Homes, which are the funding streams that we have for construction. And then we've also used the housing infrastructure bonds, most notably in kind of community land trusts, but looking for other ways to apply the new uses on single family construction.
And I will tell you that Representative Erdahl is going to have a bill on the Greater Minnesota workforce development that we're going to be hearing. Follow-up, Representative Hassan?
No, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner.
Mr. Worth, who's next?
Madam Chair, next on the list is Representative Gomez.
Representative Gomez?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner, for all this information and for all your work. I guess I'm always I'm doing this in my division too. I feel like I'm always trying to get my head around what the actual need is versus the investments that we're making. And so I wonder, you gave us a little bit of a taste of that, I think, in some of the line items that you discussed. For example, the homework starts with home. You said there are 9,000 children in a year who are homeless or highly mobile or who meet the sort of criteria for participation in the program. When you talked about the housing infrastructure bonds, you said that we usually get at least, 3 times, or you have to reject 2/3 of the applications that you get, not because of lack of merit, but because of lack of resources. Kind of down the line, for me, it's very useful, for example, as a policymaker, to understand that I can't remember if it's $250 or $350 million, but the amount of deferred maintenance that's in public housing alone, for example. And so then that when we see that there's 250 or 350 million in deferred maintenance and our bonding bill has a $16 million line item for public housing, I guess I'm just interested in how it is that we can think about how the investment that we're making in housing meets the overall need, because it seems to me, based on the things that you've said, that we're really meeting a small fraction of the need in each of these categories that you're talking about as being so important to investing all along the continuum. So I just wonder if you have kind of a comment or thoughts about that sort of scale of defining the need versus the investment that we're making.
Commissioner Hall.
Chair Houseman and Representative Gomez, thank you. Thank you for the question. I think what this really goes back to is that housing is the one area of federal programming and funding where if you're income eligible for the program, you're not guaranteed to get help. Medicare, if you're eligible, you get Medicare. Medicaid, if you're eligible, you get Medicaid. Food assistance, if you're eligible, you get food assistance. Housing, 1 in 4, 1 in 5 people who are eligible get it, except for homeowners. That mortgage interest deduction used to be pretty broadly applied. So I think that a lot of it goes to the fact that the federal government decades ago just kind of started to say, not us, when it came to their role. And so they leave us a legacy of their previous investments with the federally assisted and the public housing buildings that are aging and deteriorating, and an inadequate housing choice voucher program that doesn't reach everybody who's income eligible for it. I'll be really interested to see what the Congress does in the next year, because it's the first time that we've had, when President Obama came into office, there was a robust housing agenda, but it was because we were in the middle of the housing crisis, right? So it really was about trying to deal with what was happening in the housing market, as opposed to trying to figure out how to deal with the supply and demand issue. But I think that the new president comes in with a bold housing agenda around both production and rental assistance. And so seeing what he's able to do with his first Congress will be a really interesting sign of how much states need to do. But I will just say, even though it pains me to run programs that don't fully meet the need, I also know that as a state housing finance agency, I am lucky to have state appropriated dollars that help me leverage federal and private and local resources. Not every state housing finance agency has that. And the investments that you do make help me leverage the money that's out there. So yes, we could grow all these programs by a lot. Let's say by a lot. But I also think it's important that we work with the Congress so that the federal government stops backing away from its role in the housing market and helps us out.
Follow-up, Representative Gomez.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Commissioner, for that. I guess just sort of a comment. I think that all of us in this committee really understand and believe in the kind of primacy of having a home as an anchor for being able to have a a functional kind of life and being able to participate in the economy and in like this kind of civic world and being able to make sure your kids get an adequate education and sort of all those things that we all share. And so, you know, this is not to indicate that like I don't appreciate the investments that are being made, because I hear you that you know, we are doing things better than a lot of other states. We do have like innovative approaches. It seems like, you know, all of these programs that you talk about really have good and important outcomes. I guess for me, the more that I learn about the kind of externalities of not addressing the housing crisis with tools that are designed to meet the scale of the problem, the more that I learn about the costs of not acting on this, you know, the more that I'm inspired to advocate for more resources for housing in general as a part of our budget. You know, you talk about the trend of disinvestment from the federal level in housing. And, you know, I think that we've kind of seen that writ large in a lot of different areas. I mean, the same could be said for you know, education, which of course is explicitly like something that the state government is responsible for. And so our contribution to E-12 education has, you know, gone up necessarily as the feds have maybe backed off from their obligations. But I guess like, you know, I think that it's like if we don't really invest in housing in a way that kind of reflects its importance in people's lives, if we don't, you know, as kind of a percentage of our overall budget, if we're not really intentional about continuing to really like grow the pot of money that we invest in all of these important programs, then, you know, we're just going to continue to fall behind because we know about the role of housing in educational outcomes and health outcomes and economic outcomes for people in our community. So that's sort of just a comment, like, and I'm sure you agree, like we should be doing way more, but I just wanted to put that out there, and I really appreciate all your work and this information today. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mr. Worth, how many more questions? I'm conscious of the fact that we got a bill up today, but how many more questions?
One more member seeking recognition. That's Representative Olson.
Representative Olson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And mine was kind of in the spirit of what Representative Gomez mentioned, but I, you know, cognizant of the COVID-19 pandemic, and I'm going to oversimplify it, but like the easiest thing we have to do is to end the pandemic and get people back to work. But I am struck most in this committee that is actually where the work starts. That we are going to have people behind on, you know, the number one reason for evictions, you said in your first slide, is people can't pay their rent. And then if the number one way we can get people to accumulate wealth is home ownership, we have essentially, the pandemic has moved the goalpost back so far that it just seems like in this committee, our work is going to start most then. And I was just curious if the commissioner, I think it's kind of the spirit of like Aisha's or Representative Gomez's point is like the investment meeting the need, but what happens now that we've set the goalpost back with that pandemic? And I know you don't have a crystal ball, Commissioner Ho, but you know, what does this mean for us? I mean, that's kind of a big one, but you know, I think you're doing great work and what you're putting forward is great, but I'm just so cognizant of this is going to be bumpy. And we're far from out of the woods, especially here.
Representative Olson, I think you've given a perfect intro to the bill we have up next. And Commissioner Ho, I think you have articulated the ongoing struggles we're having here. But do you have any closing comment before we go into our bill, Commissioner?
Chair Houseman and Representative Olson, I'll just simply say that the most important thing that we can do right now is help people pay their rent and not have the wave of evictions and not have that disruption. We need the vaccination strategy to reach vulnerable communities, including people experiencing homelessness and the staff who care for them. We need to figure out how to provide assistance to homeowners one way or another to help them navigate the period of things coming back. Because if you've been in forbearance, but you still don't have a job, if your forbearance ends, there's got to be a plan B. And either that's, a job, cash assistance, or needing to sell your home. So yeah, I agree. It's going to take everything from the feds and everything from the state to have 2021 not end with just kind of the tumbling of everything that we've been holding up through this pandemic. I watch my team doing everything they can with the coronavirus relief funds. The Interagency Council on Homelessness team has just moved heaven and earth over and over and over again, trying to stand up the new program while still trying to make the regular business of the agency and the preservation and production of homes continue without stopping, signaling to developers that there will be year over year new investments in housing, because it takes the development pipeline a while to plan. I think that's a part of it, just signaling that housing is a priority. And everything else I would say would just be saying I completely agree with you. Madam Chair, thank you for the opportunity to present the budget to the committee.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner, for being with us again. Members, the next item of business is a hearing of House File 40, establishing a state rent assistance program for low-income, cost-burdened Minnesotans. Representative Howard, would you like to move your bill?
Yes, Madam Chair, I would move the bill before the committee. And
House File.
Go ahead. This is my first time doing a bill virtually. So is that, I'm a little out of practice.
Representative Howard moves that House File 40 be laid over for possible inclusion. We're not taking a vote on the bill today. So the bill is before us. Representative Howard, to your bill.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As the commissioner mentioned during her testimony, we need to go big when it comes to our investments in housing. And that's really what House File 40, the Bring It Home housing subsidy bill, is all about. Home is foundational. It's essential. It's at the center of our lives. But as we know, and as we've heard in this committee, hundreds of thousands of Minnesotans, over 500,000 Minnesotans, cannot afford or pay more than 30% of their income for their housing. And that is just not sustainable. That squeezes family budgets and lives in so many adverse ways. And so that's partly the reason that so many Minnesotans qualify for federal housing assistance. But unfortunately, only 1 in 4 who qualify receive a housing voucher to help them stay housed. And what this bill would do is it's both simple in its form, but bold in saying that we believe in Minnesota that no Minnesotan should pay more than 30% of their income in their rent. And this bill would close that gap. And so that if you qualify for a federal housing voucher, you would get a state-based housing voucher. And the ripple benefits of this kind of investment are really hard to overstate, because whether we're talking about our opportunity gap in our schools, racial disparities, economic competitiveness, all roads lead back to home. And that's what this bill is about, creating a Minnesota where everyone has access to affordable housing. I would argue that over the last few years, we're deepening our awareness as policymakers on our housing crisis, but we're still tending to focus on some of the same tools in the toolbox we've been using for years. And we need more tools, and we need some power tools. And that's what this bill is about. It's a bold yet quite simple approach to make sure that Minnesotans can afford their home. And lastly, before I turn it over to testifiers, I want to mention that on our Facebook feed, there are over 170 people who are tuning in to this hearing. If we were in person, I think we would be packing the hearing room and butting up against fire code. And just to highlight that Minnesotans across our state are invested in the fight for affordable housing. They see this as sort of a clarion call, what we need to do to address so many of our challenges. And so I want to thank the Minnesotans that are pushing us to action and following along online and pushing us to do what we need to do, which is make bold investments in housing. And with that, I'll turn it over to my testifiers.
Power tool. I love that. There's a new phrase we can organize around. We have.
Any quiet.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. We have testifying.
My family to be quiet, and I'm yelling at you. My apologies.
We have Lee Blons, who's president and CEO of Beacon Interfaith Housing Collaborative, here with us. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record.
Thank you. My apologies, Chair Houseman. I Zoom with children, right?
Yes.
Although my son is 21, so no excuses. I'm Lee Blons. I'm CEO and president of Beacon Interfaith Housing Collaborative. We're here today to ask you for bold leadership, to dare to dream of a Minnesota where all people have a home to raise their family or live in during retirement. We should not be asking ourselves why we have an eviction crisis, why we have people sleeping in tents or in cars, and why children struggle to keep up in school when they don't have a stable home, when we invest only 0.5% of the state budget for housing. We should be asking ourselves, what would it take for all Minnesotans to have a stable home? We need to scale the solution to the size of the problem. As many of you have spoken to, over 150,000 families, over 500,000 Minnesotans, including children, struggle each month to pay their rent. The good news is we don't need to build our way out of this crisis. These families already have an apartment, but because the rent is so high in comparison to their income, they are one car repair or one illness away from losing that home. So the answer is simple: rent subsidy. It's proven and it's cost effective. A subsidy helps the private rental market provide well-managed and well-maintained housing to all residents. Bring It Home Minnesota is the best eviction reform that could possibly pass. Most residents are evicted not for their behavior, but because of non-payment. It helps both residents and landlords if the rent gets paid. It also has a huge ripple effect. There are studies upon studies that demonstrate the impact that a rent subsidy has on education, healthcare, and the economy. The challenge is that, as we've said, only 1 out of 4 tenants gets that rent subsidy that it needs. And with all due respect to Commissioner Ho, we don't think we can wait for the federal government to solve this. Bring It Home Minnesota would change it. It is simple and it is bold. It will require not $1 million, but hundreds of millions of dollars. Chair Hausman and committee members of both parties, we call on you for this bold leadership. We ask you to embrace the challenge of daring to ask the question, what will it truly take to help 150,000 Minnesotans have a stable home? The bold leadership of Chair Hausman and Senator Sengen did this with the bonding bill, going from no money for housing in the bonding bill to up to 10% of the bonding bill being invested in housing. If you took that challenge to grow the current investment in the general operating budget from what it is today to around 3% of the state budget, you could end homelessness and housing instability in Minnesota overnight. Now is the simple time. Now is the time for a simple and bold solution. Thank you.
And I will say, members, I first met with Beacon, I think it was maybe 2 years ago, when we could still meet in a restaurant for coffee at the Finnish Bistro, because that's how long Beacon has had this vision. You knew the problem and you had a solution. And so it has been something you have been working for now. Before the pandemic, you knew the challenge and the issues that we had. So that's how long we've been working on this particular vision. We have. Thank you very much for being with us. We'll have questions later, so you may be back. Kristen Weir, the resident at Steve O'Neill Apartments in Duluth, I think is with us. Kristen Weir, am I pronouncing that correctly? If you're there, welcome to the committee.
And Madam Chair and Commissioners, thank you. My name is Amy Swenson, and I will be introducing Kristen this morning. I am the site.
Ms. Swenson.
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. I am the Site Services Director at the Steve O'Neill Apartments, and I have worked for CHUM in Duluth for 2 years. CHUM is the largest social service agency north of the Twin Cities area and is comprised of people of faith from 44 different member congregations, working together to provide basic necessities, foster stable lives, and organize for a more just and compassionate community. CHUM has a number of programs which offer services to those experiencing homelessness and poverty, and permanent supportive housing at the Steve O'Neill Apartments is just one of the many programs. And at the Steve O'Neill Apartments, it is our mission to end the cycle of family homelessness by creating a culturally diverse community where we put the well-being of the children and families at the very center of community living. And we can do this by providing a healing and enriching environment, focusing on health and wellness and lifelong learning. And it is my pleasure this morning to introduce Kristen Weir, who will give us her story in voicing her opinion and support of Bring It Home, Minnesota.
Good morning, Madam
Thank you, Ms. Swenson. Welcome to the committee.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you for allowing me here today to express my testimony for the HF 40, Bring It Home, Minnesota. Today, I express how hard my journey has been trying to always pay the rent in Duluth where I live. And I can only imagine how much life would have been different if I could have gotten a rent subsidy when I really needed it. My first years as an adult were all centered on a struggle to afford my home. At various points, I was working several jobs at a time and going to school to be a nurse, but was always barely making the rent. I was given custody of my nephew and became a single caretaker, which made it all more difficult. My hope came when my landlord informed me his properties were now Section 8 approved. I wanted to try to get in right away, so I went to HRA and filled out the application. However, the workers there told that the waiting list would be between 2 and 3 years. 2 and 3 years, it was just too much of a time for me to wait. I needed the support now. My life would have been transformed if I could have gotten a rent subsidy, but instead, I waited in line while things just continued to get worse. It all became too much and my mental health started to fall apart as I couldn't keep up and got behind on my rent. I had been dating a guy, got pregnant, which forced me to drop out of school when my son was born. Trapped with so little, I began turning to alcohol. My partner, who was in and out of our lives, became abusive. I ended up losing everything, my home, my car, my job, and my son. The last thing to go was my soul, which did because I became a severe alcoholic. I entered treatment at Marty Mann and started a long road of recovery. My big break finally came when I got a call from Steve O'Neill Apartments. I was finally getting to live in a place where rent subsidy. Now I'm fortunate enough to have assistance from HRA to help with housing costs. At no time is my rent more than 30% of my income. However, I feel like I've had to go to hell and back just to get here. Too many share my story. I know friends that are going through the same things I did because they couldn't get housing assistance. It does not have to be like this. If you pass Bring It Home, Minnesota, thousands of lives will be instantly transformed for the better. And I have to ask, wouldn't it have been cheaper at the beginning to help me before I got into a crisis? Having a rent subsidy has made life more possible for both my son and me. For the first time in a long time, I'm able to afford living costs, rent, buy a car, and start school again. I'm grateful to CHUM, to Steve O'Neill, and all the staff here, but believe rent subsidies are the difference. Could you please support HF 40? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Weir. Your story reminds us again, nothing else in life goes well if you don't have a safe place to sleep at night. Thank you for sharing your story.
You're welcome, Madam Chair.
We also have Melissa Taphorn, Washington County Community Development Agency. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record.
Morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Melissa Taphorn, and can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Wonderful. I'm the Executive Director of the Washington County Community Development Agency, and I'm testifying today on behalf of Minnesota NARO, the National Association of Housing and Redevelopment Officials. Minnesota NARO represents over 140 housing authorities, like Duluth HRA that Kristen just mentioned, across the state, which provide affordable housing and support livable communities for Minnesotans through a variety of programs funded by federal, state, and local resources. One of the key programs is the Housing Choice Voucher Program, which serves over 31,000 households across the state. Rental assistance helps very low-income households to afford rental housing, resulting in greater job stability and higher school achievement. Rental assistance helps stabilize housing until a family can earn enough to afford their rent. On average, this happens in 3 years. Bring It Home Minnesota is modeled after that voucher program. Currently, there are not enough vouchers to serve eligible households, and many of the local programs maintain waiting lists. Specifically, in 2019, Minneapolis, St. Paul, and Metro HRA opened their waiting lists in a joint effort, and over 45,000 households applied in just 6 days. Their wait is going to be 3 to 5 years before a voucher is available, similar to Kristen's story. In Washington County, my agency has a total of 237 vouchers. This is a woefully low number to serve our population. My agency would love to expand that program. However, new vouchers have not been made available in approximately 30 years, except for targeted populations of homeless veterans, homeless persons with disabilities, and families separated by homelessness. Last April, we limited applications to 40 for the 40 vouchers that we have available for homeless persons with disabilities to 150 applications, with the expectation that we would be able to serve them all within 5 years. Prior to that, Washington County CDA's waitlist was opened in 2004, and we still have 50 applicants on our waitlist from that application cycle. Greater Minnesota is also experiencing high demand, although their wait times might not be 16 years as ours are. In Clay County, the waiting list is not open except for households with seniors aged 75 or older. They too will open up their waiting list this month for households with persons with disabilities. And up to 500 applications will be accepted during that time period and placed on their waiting list. Olmsted County HRA accepted applications for their waiting list in October 2019, where 500 names were also randomly selected from their application cycle. And they currently have 427 applications on their list. I would say that rental assistance is not only beneficial to the families that receive the assistance, but it also strengthens our communities. Property owners in both, are all three, the urban, suburban, and rural Minnesota communities use those rental assistance payments to help pay their property taxes and maintain their properties in good condition. Thank you, Madam Chair.
These are hard stories to hear, and the need is so great. We thank you for being with us, Ms. Taphorn. And now we have Asalasol Young, I'm not sure if I have pronounced that correctly, from the Urban Homeworks. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record.
Hi, thank you. My name is Asale Sol Young, and I am the Interim Executive Director for Urban Homeworks. So Urban Homeworks has been providing affordable, dignified housing for families making 30% to 50% of the area median income in our rental units, and 50 to 80% AMI in our affordable homeownership program for 26 years. We've been doing this across the Twin Cities. The vision of Urban Homeworks is neighbors raising their collective voices to address injustice and overcome the barriers that perpetuate inequity. And as we've all seen and has been recognized many times here today, the pandemic has revealed what we already know, that there is a deep housing crisis. And it is time for long-term solutions that will bring sustained stability for families in our state, multi-generational sustainability for families in our state. Rental assistance policy can move us closer to racial justice and equity by applying broad universal support to BIPOC families making less than 50% AMI. We don't have time for incremental change, and current budgets are not coming anywhere near close to meeting the need that has been expressed here today. Bring It Home Minnesota is one of the solutions that can fully meet the need. Bring It Home is working for a rent subsidy program so that all low-income Minnesota renters can afford their home. Families will qualify for the program if they are at or below 50% AMI and are paying more than 30% of their income toward housing. The subsidy would pay the difference. We need a solution as big as the problem, and this bill would cover all low-income renters who qualify. As stated, this is not currently happening. 1 in 4 families receive a subsidy who need it. We need to reimagine our state housing budget and invest to meet the need. If you're eligible, you should receive housing assistance, period. No question, no lines. Without drastic change, we will continue to perpetuate this crisis. And that is what I have today. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And members, we should point out that what she's describing is an ongoing long-term housing assistance. Currently, what we have is the emergency housing assistance in the time of a pandemic, in order that that we don't have an eviction cliff at the end of this moratorium that the emergency order has put in place. But this would be ongoing. This would not be in response to a pandemic, but in response to the fact that right now, 1 in 5 people live in poverty. That's the level of issue that we have. Thank you very much for being with us in the committee. And now we have Chakima Flowers, a resident with Model Cities in St. Paul. Welcome, welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record.
Hello, Madam Chair. My name is Chakima Flowers, and I'm a resident with Model Cities in St. Paul. I am here to support Bring It Home, Minnesota in this bill because I currently have rental assistance. It has been a huge help in my life and in the life of my son, Jamacius. It's allowed me to be stress-free and actually put more focus into how I like to raise him. And for that, I ask that you support this bill. Before I had rental assistance, my life was a disaster. I remember thinking I had so many goals I wanted to get to, and I know that where I come from, my mom for so long fought for rental assistance. She never could make it, and I felt like, well, like, do you have to be on the rental assistance to get where you need to be? And for me, it took a year to even get qualified, and I had so much that I had to go through to get on it out. I didn't even have my faith. And I was lucky to find Model Cities and qualify for their assistance. Right now, I only pay 30% of my income towards rent. Having rental assistance has allowed me to be able to go to school, go to work, and spend time with my son all at the same time, which is truly a blessing because we have to sacrifice so much where we come from. I support this bill and I want everyone to have the same opportunities I have. Right now, I know it takes someone years to get Section 8 or any other rental assistance. I want everyone to have rental assistance because I feel that a lot of people could develop a different mindset. Where I come from, everyone's in survival mode. No one's really living or even knows how to. They're just trying to get through this day to get to the next. And I feel that with this program, it can allow them to slow down and take a look at their own life and actually start making changes and set goals that they can actually achieve. Thank you.
Thank you very much again for sharing your story. What I hear you and so many saying is you want the stability of home so that you can go to school, you can go to work, you can spend time with your son. And we all hope for that for you. Thank you for being here with us. And finally, we have Steve Horsfield, from the Executive Director of Simpson Housing, an organization doing much good work. Welcome to the committee. Please identify yourself for the record.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Steve Horsfield. I'm Executive Director at Simpson Housing Services. Thank you for allowing me to testify in support of House File 40. And let me apologize in advance. I think we'd probably be better off if I just yielded my time back to Ms. Flowers. That was awesome and on point. At Simpson, we've been operating emergency shelter and supportive housing programs in the metro area for more than 40 years. Personally, I've been working in these sort of crisis response programs for almost 20 years, operating emergency shelter programs and programs where we work with Minnesotans experiencing homelessness to find housing with various levels of support across our communities. In close collaboration with government partners, we have done excellent work in these programs, assisting thousands of households achieve housing stability following experiences with homelessness. To put it simply, the problem that we have is that due to the number of households across the state that are housing cost burdened, people are losing housing at a rate equal to or slightly higher than the rate at which we have been housing folks. Over the course of my career anyway, which leaves us truly managing a homeless crisis that is perpetually affecting about 10,000 Minnesotans at any point in time. Expanding rental assistance to all Minnesotans with lower incomes will reduce the number of people experiencing housing instability and homelessness. allowing us to make better use of our excellent crisis response programs to actually bring down the number of people that are experiencing crisis over time, and therefore that crisis keeps segments of our population in perpetual crisis and poverty. Perpetuating this churn that we currently have prevents households from fully participating in our education system, from achieving full employment, and ultimately negatively impacts overall health and public safety across our communities. So yeah, I consider this to be one of the most exciting, potentially fundamental change possibilities that I've seen in all my time doing this work. And I'm really excited to be here on behalf of this bill. So thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, committee members.
Thank you so much for being with us, Mr. Horsfield. To the author, Representative Howard, do you have, before we go to questions, do you have any more comments to frame the issue, and then we'll move to questions? Representative Howard.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank all the testifiers, and again, all those watching online. I think they painted a really clear picture of what the importance of this issue is, and what a future could look like in Minnesota, where everyone is able to afford the home that they live in. And with that, I'd be grateful to answer any questions.
And what I'm struck by, Representative Howard, is it's sort of like winning the lottery. If they manage to get the housing subsidy, the rental subsidy, they can put the other pieces of their life back together. But there are 3 others who have not had that same good fortune. So that's what we're talking about today. Mr. Worth, we're going to questions.
Yes, Madam Chair, there are 4 members right now with questions, first being Representative Tice.
Representative Tice.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I mostly just want to make a comment. I really appreciate the work that you're doing, Representative Howard, and I think we need to figure out how to bring just housing to the forefront. We've been talking about rentals, but I think we also need to be firm in our result that we get to why the building costs are so expensive. We can't build affordable housing. Lots are so expensive. And we need to take a real deep dive into what are these costs that are really preventing us from having this available to everyone. We need to support our manufactured homes. And I know that you do, Representative Howard. But I think we need to really reach out to our cities as well and say, this is what we need to do. I know some cities aren't exactly as thrilled about it as some other folks are. But I think the biggest way we can invest is to look at not only putting, to investing with money, but we also need to look at why is this so expensive to build? And I hope that we continue the discussion as well. I think it's equally as important as, some of the ways we're finding to help folks stay in their home. And that's what I want, as a former builder, remodeler, I want people to have the homes that they're looking to have, dreaming to have. It's always a dream. And I know that we have a hard time providing homes for folks that are just graduating from college and starting their careers, and they want homes, and we're just not seeing that. But I think we also need to be as adamant as we can about keeping the affordable house stock that we already have and not lose it. And I really appreciate just the dialogue to bring up housing and not just rent. So thank you for that. But I think we got a lot ahead of us yet. And it would be good to hear a builder's perspective on some of the things that maybe they think we can reach out to and some ways that they can be of value for us as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Tice. Representative Howard, I know that you're also bringing a bill forward for naturally occurring affordable housing that's already built. And so we'll be talking a little bit about that as well. Any follow-up, Representative Howard?
Yes, Madam Chair, and just a quick comment, and I appreciate the comments by Representative Tice. It highlights something that I think we need to always be cognizant of in our work on housing, is that we need to be in what I would call yes and mode. There are a variety of challenges. We need to build more housing. that's affordable. We need to preserve the housing that we have. We need to look for solutions to build that housing in a more affordable way. But I think what's clear is that none of those solutions in itself is sort of the silver bullet. And right now there is and also if the market is not going to solve this on its own either. A solution like this bill is a gap that we're not addressing here in Minnesota at all, which underscores its importance.
And I think Representative Tice references other ways of building, modular construction, for example. There are new directions we're going in some of these areas. Even the concept of the rooming house, where I think there's one in Minneapolis, where you have your own bedroom and bathroom, but you share some public spaces. So different models are also something we can talk about. Mr. Worth, who's next?
Madam Chair, Representative Ryer is next.
Representative Ryer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, testifiers. When I think about this issue, I think about the root causes of some of the life-changing, life-destroying, and very expensive situations that many of us find ourselves in. You know, I think Ms. Weir, you spoke to it perfectly in describing the path that your life took because you couldn't find housing. Ms. Flowers, the same. And I would just add my story to that in that back in the 1980s, I was in a abusive relationship, had a child, became a single mom by the time my boy was just a few months old. And I hate to say this, but I was lucky to have to go to a battered women's shelter because that was the path to get a Section 8 voucher. We had the same waiting list back then, years worth of people waiting. And because I happened to be at Women's Advocates at that time, when those few just precious vouchers came along, I was able to get my life back on track. I won't go into the details of before that and how I ended up where I was, but I needed that healing time that housing gave me. I needed that ability to finish my education. And I had the benefit of having that housing support that gave my son and me the stability that both Ms. Weir and Ms. Flowers have described. After that, I lost the Section 8, but I went to graduate school. I paid half of my rent half of my income for rent, the other half for daycare. I paid student loans back for many, many years, but it was the step I needed to be able to move forward in life. And we should make that available for everyone, addressing the root causes that keep us where we are and keep so much of our income going into human services program. People can do it on their own so much more if we have a stable base. So I wanted to just add my comment and certainly accept and interested in any responses.
Thank you, Representative Ryer. Mr. Worth, who's next?
Next on the list is Representative Agbachet.
Representative Agbachet.
Thank you, thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you to all of our testifiers today. Your stories just really show that how this bill, particularly Representative Howard, that this is a great, bold program that's completely long overdue in Minnesota. And it will help us make the necessary progress to larger needs for housing in our state. And I also like this because it will begin to address many of our racial equity issues that we see in housing. We know that oftentimes the group that's most impacted by evictions because of non-payment of rent are Black women. And so by having the support, we know that it will lead to greater stability for their families. So Representative Howard, I did have a couple of just clarifying questions just to see how your anticipated implementation of the program would be. So does this mean that the housing authorities can just grant to whoever qualifies for Section 8, or would there still be an application process? And thus, if you qualify, you would then receive it? Just because we know oftentimes there's various interfaces in those application methods that inadvertently can exclude people from the process.
Representative Howard.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative, for highlighting the equity piece of this bill too. We know that there are huge gaps in terms of, we talk about the Minnesotans that are paying more than 30% of their income in rent, and there are huge gaps, and this would help address that. In terms of its mechanics, we sought to utilize the existing infrastructure in place with our HRAs that already operate Section 8 based programs. There would be a Minnesota based application, but we would seek to mimic this in as many ways as possible as to reduce those barriers.
Is Minnesota Housing the agency? Would the money flow through?
Resources, Madam Chair, the resources would flow through Minnesota Housing as the agency and then to HRAs. And there is a provision in the bill that would permit for other entities, nonprofits, et cetera, to operate these programs as well.
Representative Agbese, you had another question, I think.
No additional follow-up. Thank you so much, Representative Howard and Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Mr. Worth, who's next?
Madam Chair, next on the list is Representative Hassan.
Representative Hassan.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Howard, for this very important bill. You know, Representative Agbete asked my question, but I just want to make a comment to say thank you for all the testifiers, the people that have shared their personal stories with us. I know it's not easy, you know, sharing your personal story of struggle with a bunch of strangers. But I think the point here that has been made over and over in this committee is that housing is, you know, human rights issue. It's a fundamental issue. Somebody doesn't have a place to lay their head at. There's nothing else that can go right in their life. And I'm glad you brought this legislation. Hopefully, you know, we'll bring more good legislations through this committee to help with the housing crisis in this state. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Worth, who's next?
Madam Chair, next on the list is Representative Herr.
Representative Herr.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of Representative Tice's comment about the cost of building. And I would agree, and I appreciate Representative Howard's comment that it's about yes and, right? Because I think that it is pretty clear to us that wages have been stagnant for decades. We have not recovered from the 2009 financial meltdown. People's wages have not kept up with inflation. And so not only do we have to look at how housing has to support some of our lowest income earners, but we do have to look really hard at how do we solve these problems, not in the silos of which we are in, but how do we work across different sectors. And that this bill is absolutely critical, because until we are able to solve the fact of why companies are making record-breaking profits, yet we are not paying employees more in order for them to live and be able to meet the needs of inflation even, that this is a necessary bill. And I just wanted to, I'm just curious if Representative Howard has the and part, you know, sort of looked at how we can address those other pieces of it. And if you don't have an answer today, Representative Howard, that's totally fine. I would just want to put out there that would love to work with you in the future and how do we do the and part of it, because, you know, asking cities to continue to subsidize housing so that developers can continue to make more money isn't the solution. And yet we have to come in and start the gap somehow. So I just wanted to thank you for the bill, and just any other thoughts around this issue of the equation of how do we balance it all out so that we are solving problems in a multidimensional way.
Representative Howard, do you have any response?
Thank you, Madam Chair and Representative Herr. Just a quick response that, you know, to expand on how it's yes and, we need private investment, we need public investment, we need cities, we need states, we need at the federal level a level of coordination. This is a greater Minnesota issue. It's a suburban issue. It's a metro issue. And so just highlighting, it's a good point that we need to continue to not ignore the intersections and how much this is a challenge that all levels of government and both public and private sector need to work on together.
Thank you. Mr. Worth, who's next?
Madam Chair, last on the list at this time is Representative Jurgens.
Representative Jurgens.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Representative Howard, for bringing this bill forward. I appreciate the goals of what this bill is intended for. I have some questions. It doesn't look like there are any, like the funding could be indefinite for an individual. I don't see any time frames or time periods or anything like that. And also then the big glaring piece of information that's not in there yet is the cost of this. Do you have any idea, anything back from House Fiscal on what the cost of this bill might be per year?
It is a work in progress, I think. Representative Howard.
Madam Chair, Representative Jurgens, we do have a fiscal note that's requested. To fully implement this bill, though, it's clearly a significant investment to the tune of hundreds of millions of dollars. But what I would say about that, as we've heard a little bit with our presentation before with the budget presentation for Minnesota Housing, currently our state budget spends less than a percentage point of its state budget on housing. If we were to spend 1%, 2%, 3% of our state budget on housing, we could make this kind of investment. And so we're looking forward to get more details and a full fiscal note to understand, what does a full implementation look like? Maybe what does some sort of scalable version look like? And in that vein, it is still a work in progress.
Representative Jurgens did have the question, what's the time frame? How long does that rental assistance go? I'm assuming that's income verification.
Yep, Madam Chair, Representative Jurgens, yes, we would mimic the Section 8 voucher in the federal government. So if it's income verified, so if someone's income, did increase to a level that they wouldn't qualify in the future. And so what we would expect, hopefully that some folks, as we've heard from testifiers, that with this voucher, they're able to get the sort of footing that they need, that this would not be indefinite, and that would be the vision for this.
Follow up, Representative Jurgens.
No, just a quick comment. I agree. I think that it would be good to have some sort of an incentive then for people to work towards being in a position where this is no longer necessary for them. I know that's a goal. It would be nice to have that be part of the bill too, to have some steps in place or something to have somebody working towards those goals. And it would concern me a little bit if it's more open-ended with no end in sight. I don't think that, maybe it is, but I don't know if that's really the intent of the bill. And with hundreds of millions of dollars per year, I guess I'd also want to know where that money is going to come from, if there's any kind of a funding source for it, or if that's just intended to be coming from the general fund. And if that's the case, then something's got to give. Is that less money to education or less money to something else that because it's not there any longer? So it's again, I applaud the intent of this, but we have some questions I think that we need answered. Thank you.
So, Representative Howard, I'm assuming the program administrator would continue to be in touch and there would be ongoing income verification to determine has their income grown so that they no longer qualify for the program.
Madam Chair, Representative Jurgens, that's correct. And to your point about where do these resources come from, this would be a general fund appropriation. What I would say too about that is we currently do subsidize housing in Minnesota, but actually what we subsidize is housing for wealthier Minnesotans through the mortgage interest deduction. Currently to the tune of about $100 million in our budget, we provide tax breaks to homeowners, in particular homeowners with larger homes that are still taking that deduction, or second homes even. And so these are budget choices, and I'd argue this bill is a tool for us to make different choices to more adequately and equitably address the housing needs faced by Minnesotans.
Representative Howard, this is going to be laid over. Do you have any concluding comments?
Madam Chair, I just thank members for the dialogue, for the questions. And this really is a long haul type of a bill that seeks to build a future in Minnesota where everyone can afford their home, I don't think that's a pie in the sky goal. It's a big goal and one that's achievable if we continue to work together. And I'm so grateful for the opportunity to take that first step in this committee with the Bring It Home Housing Subsidy Bill today. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Howard, for bringing this forward. I have one announcement. The Capital Investment Committee will be holding an overview of housing infrastructure bonds and general obligation bonds as they relate to addressing the housing crisis in Minnesota. On Tuesday, February 9 at 8:30 a.m., Chair Fu Lee has invited all members of the Housing Committee to attend that meeting. Mr. Worth will send out the details of that meeting for any members interested in participating in that meeting. The next meeting of Housing Finance and Policy will be on Tuesday, February 9 at 10:30. We will not meet on Thursday. We're now moving into the bill hearing period of time, and those bills are a little slow in coming in for a variety of reasons, and we're not quite ready yet on Thursday. So next Tuesday, we'll begin some of that. There being no further business before us, we are adjourned.